Alrighty, hello everyone, and welcome to the fourth show in season 4 of Kentucky Go Digital Live, our fall series on innovative distance learning strategies happening across the state of Kentucky. Welcome, my name is DJ Maddie B, and I will be DJing and opening our show for you today. I am so happy to have you here on this Tuesday before Thanksgiving. When I was a teacher, the day before break, I would always play One Day More from Les Mis to kind of like serenade my students as they walked into the room. Nobody liked it more than I did, which is fine. So I'm getting those kind of vibes today. I am so excited to be here with this awesome panel below, these great presenters that we have for you today. So let's go ahead and do some introductions, shall we? First, we have Dana Dowdy, who is the digital learning coach for Graves County Schools. We have the wonderful Brandi New, the instructional technology coordinator for Hardin County Schools. We have Kathleen Receiver, one of my coworkers here in JCPS and a digital innovation leader. I believe she has her camera off today. We have Elaine Ebenatha, another digital innovation leader for JCPS, and she is running everything behind the scenes for us today, so give her a big round of applause. And then finally on our panel, we have Angie White, who is the the Director of Instructional Technology for Oldham County Schools. I get that wrong every time. I don't know why I have such a problem with the words district and director, but one day I'll get it, I promise you, Angie. So hello to everyone joining us live on YouTube as well. We are so happy to have you here. Danielle, Courtney, and Heidi will be in the chat answering any questions and kind of directing those towards us. But please make sure you drop in there, introduce yourself, let us know where you're from, what you're doing, what county and state you're from. If you don't have the chat capability, make sure that you're logged into YouTube, and while you're here, make sure you subscribe so you can be notified whenever we go live and whenever we post new videos, because everything we do for Kentucky Go Digital is posted again for you to come back and watch later with the power of pause, because we know that is how your learning becomes more effective. So, it is time for our super amazing presenters from Murray Independent Schools to take the stage. We are joined today by Michelle Morgan, who is a digital learning coach for Murray Independent Schools, and Hannah Clark, a kindergarten teacher at Murray Elementary. And they are going to be talking to us about how littles can virtually do anything. Ladies, it is so great to have you on the show today. Thank you for being here.
Thanks. Thank you so much for having us. So, are we ready?
Yeah, it's all you. Sorry. Yep.
All right, no problem. All right, so just to kind of give you a little bit of background as to where we are and kind of how we've gotten to the point, and Hannah's gotten to the point where she is, we decided when we knew we were going to have, be continuing this difficult year of education, we decided early on this summer to offer students a choice of being in person or online, and then we ended up having to start the year completely virtual. But we did decide early on in elementary that every elementary school grade, K through 3, our elementary school is K through 3, that K through 3 we would have one dedicated teacher that did all online and had all the online students. So a kindergarten teacher, first, second, third grade. And we started the year on August 24th, all virtual, so everybody got to be the online teacher for a while. And then September 10th, we were able to transition to our hybrid model. We brought some kids into the school, but we still had some that elected to stay online. And then November 4th, we're back to all virtual, and everybody is learning at home again. But, the really unique thing, and the thing that Hannah's really going to talk about, is the fact that a lot of kindergarten kids had never been in a school at all. They had not been to preschool. They had been home. They had never set foot in a classroom. So, how do you teach virtually to kids who've never even had any school experience whatsoever? And so, without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Hannah Stark, because she is an amazing kindergarten teacher, and she has some amazing ideas to share with you guys.
Thanks, Michelle. I am excited to be here today and share with you about my experience so far. It has been a roller coaster for me too, even though what I'm doing hasn't changed all year, like everybody else seems to have gone through some changes. It has been a pretty steep learning curve, but will probably go down as one of my most rewarding years of teaching ever. And this is my 19th year here at Murray Elementary School. So I think that's saying a lot because it's pretty monumental to dive in and try something new and to try to be an innovator. And it's been just as rewarding for me, I think, as it has been for my students. I have a little, you'll have to forgive me a tiny bit with Google Meets. I'm not used to using this platform to share. So I'll do my best to go back and forth between my presentation and some things I'd like to share, some tips and tricks that I've learned along the way for teaching online. And I'm kind of an old school presenter. Like, I have the PowerPoint and I like to have my talking points and share. So if I get on a roll and you need to interrupt me, feel free. And if there's any questions or conversation that can happen as I go. Let's see.
Hannah, while you're switching over, this is Brandi, and I just want to tell you that I did my first 3 years in kindergarten, and I have the utmost respect for you. So let's just say thanks to you and anybody out there who has taught the littles, because I lasted 3 years. The fact that you've lasted longer than that. Much respect.
Thanks. It is a lot of work, but I mean, it's, to me, the big kids are a lot of work. Testing grades, that scares me. So I'm good. I'm good with the littles and enjoy it, but it is it does have to be a passion, I think, to have the littlest students. This is sort of, I guess I can this is kind of the slideshow that I prepared, and I'll try to toggle back and forth and just sort of go through some of my talking points. This is my 19th year teaching. I've always worked here at Murray Elementary. I've worked as a literacy specialist with the RTA grant and also as a Title I teacher, but I've taught kindergarten and first, mostly self-contained, with one rogue year of second grade. And then another tidbit about me is that I volunteered to do this. I was really excited when we chose as a district to dedicate a teacher to the online instruction. As a parent, it let me know that we were really going to value that educational option for our kids and really let it have a priority. And our ultimate goal is to provide our students learning at home with as close to an in-person experience as we can. And sort of as Michelle alluded to, that's a little bit easier with kids who have ever been to school before, because they know what it's like, and they have had the experience in the building, and they've learned all those little things like raising hands and walking in a line, and they can sort of imagine how it would be if they were in school. And then also they've had some experience with NTI in the spring, and so it wasn't a far jump for them to start learning to use some of the online tools and strategies that they knew. So for the littles, it was about really reinventing the wheel in a lot of senses of the word. And so for this presentation, when I first started thinking about sharing back earlier in the fall, and then it kind of evolved into littles can virtually do anything and their teachers can too. I think we know that kids can do anything with regard to online activities and online learning. A 1-year-old can open a cell phone. My 8-year-old can work Google Classroom like nobody's business. My kindergartners can code or play Minecraft. My 5th grader is designing her own virtual classroom in a Google slide deck so that she can play school. Like, that's not how I played school with my chalkboard when I was little, but that's how kids today are pretending to be teachers. My high schooler shares docs with her friends where they're writing stories and doing group projects. So kids can virtually do anything. It's this generation, it's innate. But where we get stuck is that we don't think we can as teachers. And so we want the online experience to be like in person, but our view of in person is different, and we have to find the common ground in between in order to have a successful online program. And with that comes that big ugly word, into change. And so kind of my presentation today, I have 4 big points to hit about how I've had to change to teach kids online, and how, yes, I volunteered to teach online. It's my family's choices to be online. So I'm kind of a little bit of a results not typical scenario, because I know there are so many families now who are struggling, and teachers who are struggling because learning and working this way wasn't their first choice this year. But it is possible to be successful. And so I hope maybe for one little tidbit to give someone a glimmer of hope that we can overcome the overwhelm and have success teaching online, little kids even, this school year. Kids,
Hannah,
yeah.
I just want to say I love that attitude. Kids can do anything. I think we know that, and I think teachers are going to be your hardest sell. But I love the way that you have taken on this challenge and are gung ho about it. And I think it'll inspire many other people. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how you've made this happen in your own classroom.
Thanks. But I don't like to be comfortable and complacent, and that's why I've taught several different things in one school. And so I'm always about learning, and I really for a few weeks there thought I had bitten off more than I can chew. And my husband, who also teaches here at Murray Elementary, begged me to ask our principal if I could switch because in many ways I felt like a first-year teacher all over again. If I know everyone is feeling that way because we have such a steep progressive learning curve to overcome. And so I guess I just sort of had to boil it down to basics, because I'm not Google certified. I have a love-hate relationship with Google. I love PowerPoint and Excel. I love using slides. I didn't start out with Google Classroom with my littles. It was all about making it accessible and easy for me, for my families, my parents, and my kiddos. And so that's sort of the route that I've taken this year. So the 4 areas for change that I was going to talk about are changing my mindset, a change in how I plan, a change in lesson delivery, obviously, and then changes for family communication for this year. The first is a change in mindset. And this is kind of where my beliefs come in pretty strongly, how I feel about this process and about teaching kiddos this way. But when I first started trying to tackle this beast that is teaching kindergarten online, I really had to check myself and had to think, is it even possible to teach kids through a screen who have never been to school, who are learning letters and numbers and how to read? And once I decided that yes, I could find a way to do this and I was up to the challenge, I had to think about really what was my ultimate goal. And my ultimate goal is to give them as close to an in-person experience as possible from the comfort of their own home. So how do I do that? And really, it came down to realizing who the stakeholders are in this process, what they need, and what changes I need to make about how I work with them. And first and foremost, the stakeholders, as we are teaching these littles at home, are their parents and caregivers. And I found out really fast that my number one priority was not necessarily my students. My number one priority had to be the families and the caregivers and the adults in the equation, because although kindergartners can do a lot, they can't read an email, they can't hop online, they have to have help from a grown-up. And I know as a mother of 3 kids who've been through some online learning and switching back and forth, that you have to have the parents and the families and the caregivers on board in order to be successful. And so thinking about those stakeholders, I was thinking about what's the path of least resistance to get my face in front of these kiddos, to get them on board and supporting so that some learning can take place at some point somehow. And so when I really changed my focus to thinking about the parents involved, that really helped me recognize that how I perceive this situation and how I perceive this learning opportunity and how I communicate how I feel about it is huge. And I think it's even bigger now. Online learning is not our problem right now. And I feel like there's a lot of I hear personally a lot of negative talk, and I know that it's hard. It's hard. We have 2 educators for 3 children. It's really hard. We want to teach in school. We want our kids in school. But right now, the problem is the situation we're in. It's the pandemic. It's the regulation. It's the guidelines. It's how we keep our kids safe. That's the problem. Online learning is part of the solution. And so working with families to understand that we're trying to solve this issue that we didn't want or create, I think really helps get them sort of on board for the process of learning. And so once I sort of twisted myself and put myself in a little different spot mentally, I think it really helped me tackle it. And I think that that's something we all need to hear right now as everybody sort of heads into this literal season of working online with our kiddos across the state.
Hey, Hannah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, Brandi, you and I both did it at the same time. My camera's not working, so I apologize that you can't see me. But your half glass, the glass is half full attitude is so contagious to your parents and the caregivers, the families of those students. And that is truly your first step. I totally agree.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say too. Just like that you realize that. And I like the way that you broke it down logically. And I get a feeling from the way you just said that, Hannah, like this is the problem. It's the pandemic. Like the online is not the problem. I have a feeling you've said that to parents and had this conversation. And it's one of the most logical, like it just makes so much sense how you changed, the paradigm shift and the way you're looking at it. And I really hope that you shared that with your parents. I'm guessing you have from the way you said it, because I can tell you said it a few times. But it's just super smart. I'm stealing that and I'm gonna give it to my teachers. Like it's just right on. We're just trying to do the best we can. So that's just so smart, and it sets you up for that success and that relationship. I've had so many primary teachers tell me they feel closer to their students or their families now that they're online. Yes, okay, that's what I was gonna ask. Are you seeing that too?
110%. I thought I was good at building relationships with my families, and I think I was, because we're a small community and I know everybody, and I've been here for a lot of years. But yeah, well, when you're in their living room, for one, or the dining room, it really sort of bridges that gap. But yes, I feel much closer, and it's because I recognize that 50% of the time when I'm online, I'm teaching parents, not just kids. Whether they're watching the replay after their child has been at daycare, or they are sitting right there, or they're in the kitchen listening. A lot of what I say is directed towards them to sort of facilitate them helping their child later. Because they have to in kindergarten, and you have to get them on board. Again, I'm super blessed that the families I'm working with this year are setting me up for success because they chose this route and they're dedicated to giving their child the best they can given the situation. So, it's kind of in a capsule, but I do feel like if the message is to teachers as much or more as it is to parents and to administrators, that I think sometimes I feel guilty that I'm okay with teaching this way, and we shouldn't have to feel that way in this situation as teachers. I think we're made to think that we should want them all here and they should be here. And don't get me wrong, 100% I believe they should be, and I would be so happy. But it's just about looking for the silver linings and making it work and continuing to press on in a difficult situation. And when you think about it in that way, it makes a lot of other things fall into place really easily. And when you keep your parents and caregivers at the forefront of your mind while you're planning and teaching, then you do get that buy-in, and it is a lot more successful. There are a lot less glitches and a lot less disgruntled families, because this is tough. It's really hard as a mom and a dad to help your kid, or a grandparent, or I work with daycare workers who have children in a small confined daycare for parents who are essential workers, and I've communicated with the daycare workers. So it's about building that relationship first and foremost, and switching your mindset on this can be okay. It's gonna be okay.
Hey, Hannah. Sorry. One thing that I can see is, teaching kindergarten. A lot of people have that disconnect. Like, I don't know how to teach a kid to read. And, and I think this way parents have that insight on the whole process. And I think that gets you the buy-in too. And they really understand the whole process. And you probably have way much more success in this way than in person, because they're right there with you.
Yes, it is. It's been a great positive byproduct of this situation that parents are getting a ringside seat to their child's education. And I have one child in my class who's repeating kindergarten, and the mother at conference time was like, we've done a lot of this already, but I had no idea. I understand. And she said, I feel like I can help her with school for years to come just because I've gotten this tiny glimpse of why you do. Yeah, I think Common Core math would have a much better rap if parents could hear the thinking behind why we do what we do, and could be involved at that ground level of learning. And so it's been a lot of that. It's been really cool. I mean, to experience it with families and to hear their feedback on how they feel about the process too.
And I can see with just that parent, like that difference you've made for the years to come. It's really amazing. So, you've made a huge difference at this point, but it's going to last through grades and grades and grades. So that's really awesome.
Yeah. And the other thing is the changes that I'm making are not just because I'm teaching online. Kind of my next few points are more about sharing how I use Google to sort of meet my teaching needs. And I will continue to do every single one of these things from now on. If we went back to normal school life tomorrow, I would keep these same changes in my teacher habits and in my teacher procedures, because when you know better, you do better. And in this world we're in, there's changes that need to be made, and things that we need to learn, and we can do better. And that kind of takes me to my next point, which is the first thing besides my mindset and building these relationships and communication. I had to change how I'm a little slow with the sharing here. I had to change how I lesson plan. And it sounds kind of silly, but starting on the front end and changing the way I keep up with my lesson plans has been a major game changer for me. This little form here with the fun fonts and stuff, it was a form that I printed out for the first few weeks of school, and I literally wrote out what I was going to do live every day and what assignments my kiddos would have while they were at home, because I am an old school girl at heart. I love a good gel pen and a number 2 pencil and a good form and filling things out. I swore up and down my whole life I would never plan digitally, because I just like to write it on paper. I like to erase it and fix it when I get interrupted in the lesson plan changes. And I found out a few weeks in that I was really wasting a lot of time by writing my lesson plans. And so I started following, I kind of put a shout out here to A Primary Kind of Life is a teacher, I think she's on the West Coast. She teaches upper elementary, and I follow her on Instagram. And she is a wealth of knowledge when it comes to tackling the online teaching piece. She uses a lot of different Google applications for things that you might not already think of. And then she gives tutorials in her highlight reels and in her Instagram stories every day. So I started following her, and she shared about a lesson planner she uses that totally, changed my teacher life. And I started planning digitally. And I will continue to plan digitally even when I'm not teaching online, because it is just that game-changing and just that useful, so much more useful. So I'm going to share my lesson planner. These are my lesson plans. I'll stop sharing while I do this. These are my lesson plans for next week. And I prefer Google Sheets, but Google...
I think we lost Hannah. While she's trying to get back on, I will say that the way that Hannah spoke about changing some of those things that she did teaching virtually, she's going to do whenever she is teaching in person. That's the whole goal, is we want to do things that help us become better teachers. And so there may be something we have learned in the virtual teaching world that, is just going to make us better teachers in general. And, you want to incorporate everything into your teaching the next year. We may be in person next year, all 100%. And you're going to take those good things from this experience and weave them into your experience next year. So, Hannah, you back with us?
Yes, it logged me out, and I guess it logged me out of the whole meet when I logged back in, it shut it down.
We're glad to have you back.
I got back in pretty quick, so good recovery. I was going to share my lesson planner and just a few little tips I use for planning digitally for my lessons. And let's see. I use Google Sheets because I like Sheets, and it's I can make it pretty. I've always say it's kind of an illness that I like to make things a little matchy-matchy. I spend a little too much time. You don't have to make it fancy. A running Google Doc would work just as well to type out lesson plans. And then the key is to link everything, to hyperlink everything. And I think it's something that I've always known how to do. I hyperlink in emails and in PDFs and all kinds of files and things that I make, my teacher newsletters. I never thought about hyperlinking my lesson plans in this way. Maybe I'm the last one to the game, but it's been a big game changer for me. And I love using slides because you can link an entire cell. You can merge cells. You can have more than one link within a cell. So for my math lesson on Monday when we return, I've linked to a PDF doc here that has my lesson plans that go with our math series. So I could quickly pull up the lesson plans or the worksheets that go with it. And then I also have a link to a video that goes with the content that I'm going to teach with that lesson. I link to my own personal slide decks. So here I can grab my slide deck link and open it. I can link to our school news program so that I can pull that up. I can link videos and all kinds of other things. My favorite is that each time that I have a live lesson, I've gone ahead and linked my Zoom link, so I don't ever have to go to Zoom and try to open the right meeting. It's linked right there, and I click and I can pull it up and I can start a meeting at any time with my kiddos. I love the option to add the check boxes, because what's more satisfying for a teacher than checking things off? The great thing about Sheets is that you can select a set of cells, insert check boxes, and there they are. And then you can just check off as you teach. For my small group instruction, I use it as a way to keep attendance so I can check which kiddos are there. You can link to a specific slide in a slide deck by pulling up that slide deck and going to the slide that you want to link to and just grabbing the URL from the address bar. And anytime you want to share a slide or a slide deck without giving the option to edit or without having it in edit mode, you can go to the end of the URL and backspace to the slash, take all the edit stuff out and replace it with the word present. And then the link that you share will be in presentation mode. So here I've got this small group is ready. I can click and I can pull up my Bitmoji classroom for this small group so that when I've got my kiddos in the Zoom, here's everything they need to start the lesson. I can check and see who's here. Here are my links to my videos that I might use. And it gives me just a really good starting point myself before I get ready to start the lessons. I cannot say enough about planning this way. I was the last person, I think, to let go of my paper pencil plans, but finding a way to make things easier is key. The other big thing that I learned from the teacher on Instagram that she shared is to make a bookmark of your lesson plans. So you click on the star and make a bookmark and add it by calling it lesson plan. So I add it as the very first tab. Every morning when I come in, all I have to do is open this bookmark. Here's everything I need. I start clicking and opening all the tabs. And when I go live, everything is prepped and ready for me throughout the day. And this would totally work for in-person too, because we do use a lot of online resources for in-person, and we can grab them in much the same way. I can share my plans with administrators now and other teachers. So it's been a big game changer for me. It's work on the front end, but that front end work makes everything go so much smoother once you're finally live and trying to manipulate your platform for online teaching. So
Hannah,
that's been huge.
Hannah, I hate to interrupt you, but I
No,
have to say, you threw in so many huge things for teachers in just like 2 or 3 sentences, talking about changing the slides so they show in present mode. The Bitmoji virtual classroom where the links are right there for the student. I mean, there's so much that you just kind of threw in 2 or 3 sentences. And I know that was a lot of planning, but that just makes it so much smoother for the students, for the parents. As you were saying before, the stakeholders, all that work on the front end pays off on the back end. And just those little tips like that present piece in your slide link, those are huge. So don't discount those, I guess. Those are big wins for teachers.
It's hard to know where everybody is in this process. I mean, because I've known about hyperlinks for a really long time, but until I started thinking of things in this way, I didn't use a lot of the things. And I think a lot of teachers know things like that and forget, hey, I could use this to my benefit in this situation.
Hannah, the live chat is going insane over your organization and the way that this is set up and how smart it is. So I just wanted to let you know that we've got tons of people in there that are like, oh my gosh, this is genius. And I just love that it's pretty too. I thought I was good with sheets, but I was like, dang, that's gorgeous. It's like a thing of beauty. So
thank you. I spend way too much time on stuff like that.
But you know what? Like you said, you do the work in the front, and you probably also find a little bit of happy time there.
Yes.
And get some creativity and whatever. So then the task that you're doing is no longer a negative or laborious task.
Right.
You're really enjoying this, and you get to throw the creativity in too. So I just wanted you to know that the chat is blowing up. Everybody's like, oh my gosh, this is genius. So
I think the pretty is what gets me through. But sometimes it's to my detriment because that's where my husband was in my ear again and said, you make this look way too easy. I've seen you sitting in your recliner with your laptop for hours on end, and you don't realize you make it look easy. So sometimes when you get too fancy, you bite off more than you can chew there. But yeah, I do love the pretty, and I have a thing for clip art and pretty fonts too. A primary kind of lifestyle too. She's had a big impact on me, obviously. So check her out for sure. Aside from planning all the lessons, obviously delivering the lessons has to change when it comes to online teaching. We can't teach exactly the same way that we would because the kiddos aren't here. In kindergarten, we can't hand over hand even when they are here. So even our in-person teachers have had to adjust on lesson delivery because we're trying to keep our distance and we're trying to be safe. And then online, there's been so many times I'm like, I wish I could reach to the screen and help your pencil grip. And so I had to learn ways around how to teach, how to deliver, how to model, how to overstate the obvious. It's obvious to me, but think of who's on the other end of the screen, those caregivers and the children who don't have the school experience. And so constantly explaining things through my instruction has been huge. For my lesson delivery personally, with my kindergartners, I use, we have one whole group, hour and a half long live every morning from about 8 to 9:30. And during that time, it's kind of a little miniature school day where I work in a whole lot of stuff in a short amount of time. And then I have a few different sessions throughout the day with small groups for reading and math so that I can get my guided reading in and so I can get some differentiation in for math, some remediation and pre-teaching of skills. And then I also plan social groups throughout the day. We have what we call lunch bunch. Parents can sign their kids up and come in for a 15 to 20 minute lunchtime where I just open up the Zoom to 4 or 5 kids. Everybody turns their mics off or on, and I'm trying desperately to get them to recognize and learn about each other and talk to each other. The first several weeks, I was just a mediator. I would ask a question, they'd answer me. I'd ask another child. And then it's taking time. They're noticing each other. They're getting involved. I joked with one parent at a conference that I think these littles think that I'm like their personal kindergarten TV show, and they think that I see them always. And they think if they raise their hand, I will always call on them because they forget that there's so many other kids in the classroom too. So we've had to learn some ways to teach turn taking and delayed gratification. I only let so many share a day, and so on and so forth. I also had to decide with my lesson delivery what could be pre-recorded. We have some scripted programs that we use for phonics and phonemic awareness. So I pre-record those lessons, and then I embed those lessons in my daily slide deck that the kids work through along with other things. And we also created a kindergarten website to just help the whole grade level. When we started as a team, all online this school year, we really needed a home base for everybody, because just like our families, our kindergarten team, we have 6 kindergarten teachers here at Murray Elementary, and we all come to the table with different strengths. And we had to sort of play to all of our strengths. So my friends who are a little less techie, but super organized curricularly, have been pulling together our packets. And then those of us who are a little more able to work through the online, we set up a Google site for our grade level. And we have kept that going all year, and the teachers have used the resources there in person. All parents can still access that at home. And that's been huge. It's been a huge unifying piece to our in-person and at-home families, and to all of us as teachers, that we know we're kind of still on the same page. We're sharing these digital resources.
Hannah,
yes.
Once again, you said something that I thought was super powerful, and that was having a digital hub, whatever that is, whether that's your Google Classroom or Seesaw, or if you have an LMS like Canvas or something like that. So having that digital hub is so important, so that they know where to go back and where to get that information. That's so important. And another thing that you didn't use the big words, but you were talking about that balance of synchronous and asynchronous. You know, we can't expect any of our students, but especially our littles, to sit in endless Zooms or Meets or whatever they are. You know, there's something to the psychology of that because of the delays in the body language. I've been reading up on that. So, you know, having that synchronous is so important, so that they can see your face and have that interaction, but that there's so much more to it than that. So we need to have that balance of asynchronous and synchronous. You captured that well.
Yes, I was going to say that, Angie, too. You know, you have to think about, you know, what is best as a pre-recorded lesson, and what's going to be more powerful live in a Zoom. So I think that's a great point. And also, I really love the fact that you have social groups where, you know, you can't you're not in a position where your kids can interact with each other in person, especially kindergarten, where it's so important to build those relationships. And I love the fact that you're seeing that growth in them from the beginning, where you were having to facilitate everything, where they're kind of becoming more open now to sharing with each other on their own. So that's a great aspect that I think some people might forget about, is that social aspect that we still need to keep in mind when we're teaching virtually. So I love that.
We've sort of taken a spin on that now that all of our kiddos are at home, and we've started as a school utilizing our specials teachers to have just open Zooms in the afternoon that are content specific, that are just for fun. And that has been awesome, because at the kindergarten, we call them club meetings. So at the kindergarten music club meeting, the music teacher hops online and does about a 30-minute lesson with the kids, but my kids are invited to those too. So online kids have gone into those Zoom meetings and met the in-person kids that are at home now, and just trying to build in as many things as we can as a school. It's been really huge. Our administrators have taken over doing some lunch bunches and had kids bring toys and share and talk. And anytime that the child is excited to hop on and energetic, you're going to pull that parent support back in, because they're going to keep their child happy. They're going to be able to sit back for a few minutes while they're busy. And they're going to buy in even more as you go. And I've even had some parents contact me to contact each other to join up, and they plan their own Zoom play dates, and you know, they're playing Nintendo Switch online together and getting to know each other. So it's been really cool. I mean, it's been a lot unexpected, but proving that it is possible to be successful. I thought, since I showed them briefly, I would just share sort of how I use how we use our Google site, share our site, and share how I use my slide deck. And that kind of just goes into how I communicate with parents, and that's sort of all I have. But I will preface this with I do not use Google Classroom with my kindergartners. Do I think they could? Yes. Was I ready for it? No. I needed to come from a place of confidence. I felt early on that I needed to approach my families as though this was going to work. And I just didn't feel confident enough in Google Classroom because I need to do some more of my own homework, and because I know that they have no school experience. So whatever I create, they don't know any different. So it sort of saved me a little. But I teach entirely from Google Slides and from our Google site, and then the resources provided there. And then they also they have to have paper pencil cat. They're in kindergarten and they're learning to hold a pencil and write and cut and go to color. So every 2 weeks they come and they pick up a packet that has the check sheet on the front. I've listed on there what we'll do live, what they can do on their own. It gives them that opportunity to plan their asynchronous time in a way that fits their family, and then around the times that I've planned for us to be together and for me to be delivering the instruction. So I guess my message there is that you don't have to overcomplicate things. In fact, simplifying things is better because as a parent, I know I just need something. I need something easy, but I need something that I can manipulate through as a parent, but also that my student can manipulate through. And sometimes that's where we miss the mark, I think. My 5th grader is super adept at her Google Classroom, and she can get in there and figure all kinds of stuff out. But I don't know enough about it as a mom to be able to hop in. So, and then likewise, I can read my 2nd grader's email from his teacher that has all of these hyperlinks and all this stuff. But I have to be right there with him because he doesn't have access to my email to get those things. So he needs a way to bridge that gap where he can have some autonomy because he is old enough. So it's just striking that balance in the way that we deliver our instruction. And for me, the easiest thing has been just to make a slide deck. And yes, I fell down the Bitmoji classroom rabbit hole because it is a never-ending project for those of us that love clip art and the fonts. And so I have gone way overboard in what I do. And this one is actually really cluttered. But this is what I'm planning for next week. I love using slides this way because I can embed videos and I can link things up. For all of the packets that we send home, we run a packet through our copier one time at the end to save it as a PDF file. And then we can convert those to JPEGs. And so when my kiddos hop on our Zoom in the morning, this is what they see. And I go live at 7:55, but my video and my audio are off. And I have an embedded YouTube video. When you want to embed a video, insert video, put the YouTube link in there, and then it comes up like its own little clip art that you can move around. You can change the size, and it will play within a presented slideshow. So I click that, and there's a cute little song, and it counts down from 10 minutes while I admit my kids. So they pop in, and their parents are able to grab what worksheets they're going to need for the day, and what worksheets they'll need for our live lesson, what other little tools that they're going to need. I also include a list of the kids' names who are going to get to share, so that a few kids get to share every single day at the end, and that way they'll find their favorite stuffy or whatever it is they want to share. And then I include a journal prompt here, and the expectation is during that 10 minutes, they're going to finish their journal activity. This is probably my most favorite time of the day because when I admit the kids, I love seeing their faces when they see whatever new thing that I've put on my slide. One little girl hides her eyes until the lesson comes up, and then she looks, and I see them smile and call their parents over. It's rewarding to see that they're excited to get their day started, and it's simple. It looks fancy, but it's simple. It's just a clip art on a slide deck that I present, and then I pop in when the 10 minutes runs down. But I also send this slide deck home to my families every day. I send them that link in present mode in my email every day, and so they can come back in themselves and interact with the things within the slide deck. This shows them what they need to do for me every day. Everything's linked up. So there's big old buttons that they can click and go to what they need. This bar at the bottom takes them back to our grade level website that I'll show in just a second.
Can I stop again real quick?
Yeah.
Our kindergarten teacher's doing something similar, and so I understand the process. But that putting the little JPEGs of the hands-on materials at the bottom is absolutely genius. It's just genius. I'm over here like flipping out. I'm texting like all the kindergarten teachers, and I'm like, oh, it's just so smart because they talked about how the parents don't know how to follow along. That's just so smart. I'm sorry. I had to bring more attention to it because I feel like that way. You've said lots of great things. That might be the smartest hack yet.
Thanks. We think that was actually, it was two teachers. We sort of, that was our brainchild to put that together for our families. And then, so for my kiddos, they work through these slides every day. They have a reading classroom where I embed my pre-recorded videos here, and all these things are linked up to other videos, going through the ABC chart, visual phonics, and I always include words in there for the grown-up. Could one of my students go to this slide and complete their lesson? Absolutely, now that they've practiced. But if they had a different caregiver with them, then the directions are there. And the same is true for, oops, I didn't mean to do that. Then the same is true for math, only here I usually take screenshots of what we're working on, so that they can have an answer key, and they can make sure that their work is correct. If they need help, or if a parent's unsure how to answer a question, if they're working on it later, they can come back here and grab the answer key or whatever it is that we work on together. And I just screenshot it. I forgot about this hack, but there's a button on your keyboard that says PRT SCR, and it stands for print screen. And if you have whatever you have on your screen, if you push that and then go where you want to put it and paste, it will screenshot your entire screen and paste it in. So I screenshot what's under my document camera, and I can put in the work really simply. And then I always have a break slide, and we take a break every day during our lessons. We have to, in order to maintain engagement. And this is some of my kiddos' favorite time to put the Friday one. You can actually embed multiple YouTube videos and play multiple videos at the same time when you're in present mode. So I've got my break time timer down, and then they can join the dance party if they want. And then because they have access to this slide deck, families can use this slide at home. So if kids need to go for a cool down calming strategy, or they need a brain break and they want to go noodle, or they need an art break, or they just need to use the timer, then parents can use this as well. And I've had actually several parents say that they appreciate having access to this slide because it reminds them to put those breaks in for their kids, and it gives their kids a choice on how they can kind of decompress, because it's just a study habit skill that our kids are learning today that they need to know. Other thing I was going to share, and then I'll be getting close to getting done. This is our kindergarten website. It is just a Google site, and we try to, again, go with simple. Simple is better. So all of these little spots are buttons, and they click the buttons and go to whatever it is that they need. So we have Meet the Teachers, parent links, news and notes. This is sort of their one place to go. We created a QR code and made a magnet for all of our kindergartners to stick on the refrigerator at the beginning of the school year for the whole school. They can click that code with their phone or other device and get to this at any time from anywhere. The thing I was going to share is our online learning button. We have a how-to video, which I'll get to in a minute, but if they click the online learning button, it takes them to our grade level Bitmoji slideshow. So it's embedded in the website in present mode so they can work it like a website. And every day they can access our slide for the day. So this is what our kindergartners will see next week. And again, it has all the worksheets they need for each day. And then each one of these will be hyperlinked up to our library slides. We create a slide to go with every story. One of our awesome kindergarten teachers has found a slide deck. There's so many out there that teachers are sharing. It's insane how many resources teachers are sharing within Facebook groups and on blogs. And on TT. This is one that one of our kindergarten teachers put together as a slide for every letter. I think she found one, and then she kind of beefed it up and added some more stuff to it for us. So we have that for the letter of the week. And then we're using all of these cool libraries and stuff we're finding, because we found that our parents wanted more opportunities for their kids and more ways for their kids to engage solo. And so our thinking behind the website and using those slides in that way as a separate thing, we thought a parent could turn their child loose on one of those slides for 20 or 30 minutes and get a break, but they'd still be doing something related to what we're learning. And then the beauty of that is that all the slides that we've made, we now have forever. And so we can use them as our home base on our Chromebooks here at school. And once the kiddos learn how to use them, that it can be a center or a when your work is finished activity. Again, kind of like my plan book, it's work that's not wasted, because we know that we will keep doing this on into the future because it's applicable to education today in all its forms. And that sort of takes me to my last thing. I'll try to power through, but the last slide deck the last thing I was going to share is how I've changed the way I communicate with parents. I am a teacher. My husband is a teacher, and we have 3 children, 1 child at every school in our district, 1 elementary student, a middle school student, and a high school student. To say that we get a lot of emails today is a gross understatement. We get multiple emails a day, just related to school. Not even, my Old Navy and my Matilda Jane emails. We get a lot of school-related emails, and I know as a mom that those emails get lost in the shuffle, they get ignored, and what is the easiest way to communicate sometimes becomes the most difficult because people aren't checking them and they're not checking in. And so I try to communicate with my parents through my live lessons. I'll stop and talk directly to them sometimes. I have one dad who will give me the thumbs up into the camera screen just to let me know someone's listening. I send a daily email. I send one daily email every day at the same time every day that they can expect. Our live ends at 9:30. Between 9:30 and 10, I will send the email that gives them all the information they'll need for the day. And I go ahead and screenshot my slides and I hyperlink them up. I always include a bit.ly so that if they pull the email up on a different device, they could type the bit.ly into a Chromebook to help their child access the lessons, because I know as a parent, my son can't pull up my email and click in. So that has been a big thing. And the other big thing is that I made how-to videos. I just screen shared and made videos for my families on what I expect from them. This is how you read my email. I made a video all about how my email will look every day, how you pull it up, what you click on, and how you navigate the daily email. We made a video how to navigate the kindergarten website. Here's what you click. Here's what you can find. This will help you. And we got a lot of great feedback from parents like, yes, I just needed somebody to show me where to click so I didn't have to figure out for myself what it is. And then the last thing that is just for fun, but a way to improve communication and to communicate with my kids is that I created some kindergarten brag books for my kids. They're basically digital sticker books. I saw the idea somewhere on Instagram probably or Pinterest, but they all have their own little Google slideshow that I made a little QR code for. So it pulls up in present mode for them, and I can leave them perfect attendance awards, and you can make your own pictures. You can just type in a text box. You can buy stickers online. My favorite is the one scrap challenge. When we're cutting something out, they try to just have one scrap and not make little tiny scraps everywhere. So this child achieved the one scrap challenge. We can also do some school behavior, positive behavior feedback here. So again, it looks fancy, but it doesn't have to be. It's background. You can put a child's name on there and share them. The slide. Another cool hack is that I have the link. I have bookmarks for every single brag book in one folder. And so I can open that folder and open them all at once. It pulls every single one of them up, and I can share with my kids. So it's been a steep learning curve. This is my last little thing because of my obsessed with this, but these are my kids. I made them their own little Bitmoji. I can't wait to give them their class picture frames, because they're all about the Bitmoji, and they'll get to see themselves. But virtual to me, the connotation of the word virtual is almost fake or not all the way real. And there's nothing virtual about teaching kids online. It's very real. Kids are very much so learning, and it can actually be a lot of fun. So I appreciate the opportunity to share all this stuff, and just thanks for having me.
Michelle, you will be up next, but before you go, Hannah, honestly, amazing. And I love that you have that expected communication piece for your parents so they know exactly when something's coming from you, and you have left no stone left unturned. And sometimes we take it for granted that parents just know. So I love that you've taken the time to, really make them feel informed. And I would want to be in your classroom as a student. So excellent job. But yes, so Michelle, are you ready?
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I'll kind of wrap things up. Yeah. So I'm 100% with you. I want to be a student in Hannah's classroom. I would love just to be in there every day. She's she's a rock star, and we're so lucky to have her in our district. So a lot of the things that I'm going to kind of just wrap up touching on are a lot of the things that Hannah has already said. And I think it's just so important to remember that right now, simple and consistent are kind of those key words, keeping things simple and keeping things consistent. And so I'm going to share for just a second. And so, I mentioned that we have one teacher in each grade level dedicated to being our online teacher. And so this is just kind of a little sneak peek at what our second grade online teacher does. She's phenomenal as well, and she's an absolute rock star. And it's very similar in kind of its format as to what Hannah does. She has a Google site that's very, not complicated, very simple, very consistent. There's a parent portal where you can get communication with the teacher and get some information. She has a student portal that they click on each day that takes them to their class library, and then they can click on the day of the week, and it takes them straight to her Bitmoji classroom. And she's using that same format as we have a Bitmoji classroom as well. And then they also can go back and look at any slide deck from any day in the past, because she keeps those things archived. And so it's just kind of that same simple, consistent process every day. She has a slide at the beginning that tells them what supplies they're going to need each day. There's a slide on there in her Google Classroom in her Bitmoji classroom every day with the agenda that stays pretty consistent every day, but that's there for them to see. She also puts in JPEG pictures of the worksheets that they're going to need for morning work and links those videos in there. She has those individual Zoom links for those reading groups, and we'll have the kids listed so that they know which reading group they're in, when they're supposed to log on. And so it's just simple, consistent, the same thing, so the kiddos get into the routine, so the parents get into the routine. This thing I thought was super cool when she showed me about this, because when you get to second grade, you're starting to have spelling words every week, and you're starting to have spelling tests that you need to give, and it's a little difficult when your kids are virtual to give a spelling test, and it's so how can you do that? And so she came up with this great idea that she uses Screencastify. We have a subscription to Screencastify in our district, but even if you don't, you could easily still do this with the 5-minute time limit for Screencastify. Screencastify, YouTube, and a Google form. And she records herself saying the words and pops those videos onto YouTube, inserts them into a Google form. And so here's just kind of an example of the way it works out, where the students would come on, they would play the word. So the kids can listen to that over and over again so they can hear that word as many times as they need to, and then they type that word into the Google form. And so it's her way of being able to give spelling tests to the students and them still be able to do that. So just kind of a great little way to be able to do that. And then Hannah mentioned this. We have a lot of teachers that are doing virtual libraries, kind of like she mentioned, and some of them they've created on their own. Again, so many teachers sharing so many great resources out there that you can find a lot of these virtual libraries already made, or you can find the templates for them and put in the books that you want. And the students can click on any of these books and they can hear the book being read to them. They're great read alouds, which leads me to kind of this last little thing down here. If you have not heard of Novel Effect, and I had not until a couple of weeks ago, Novel Effect is an app that you can get on it's an app that you can get on your phone, Android, iPhone, whatever, and it's meant to, you get the app, you search for a book, and it's really, I think, originally meant for, if you're reading a book to your classroom, you just turn on that sound effect for that book, you search the book, it has sound effects, you turn it on, sit it beside you, and while you're doing your read aloud to students, then you can, there's sound effects that will play, it kind of recognizes your voice, and there's sound effects that play along with the book. But if you're recording read alouds, you can easily pull it up on your device, sit your device close to your computer that you're recording your read aloud on, and it will play, and you'll create videos that have those sound effects on it. So it just adds a little bit to your read aloud. So, and it's so funny, I have to give a shout out to Stacey Fish, our digital learning coach in Region 1, who shared that with us at our last meeting because she learned about it, or she was talking about how she started watching TikTok videos and following teachers on TikTok that give lots of great tech tips. And I had been on TikTok for maybe a week, and I had gotten on TikTok because my husband would sit in the recliner at night and laugh hysterically, and I couldn't figure out what he was doing. He was like, I'm watching TikTok videos, they're great. So I got on TikTok, but now I've started following all these teachers, and you get tons of great tech tips on TikTok. So if you're not on TikTok, check that out for teacher tips as well. But that's where I learned about Novel Effect, and it's super cool. It's free, so that's another great one to check out.
And you just hit on, this is the reason I tell my teenage children who make fun of me, they're like, Mom, really, you're not on TikTok? And I was like, there's teachers there, so thank you. I'm glad I'm not the only one.
Yes, no, it's great. And and then I'm constantly like sharing the videos I find with myself so I can go back and watch them later and see them. And
then maybe I watch Happy Puppy, videos too. We all need that more life.
Absolutely. It's
so glad I'm not the only one.
We all need balance right now. So it's great. But yes, that's just kind of, finding those things helped a lot. But, the last thing I would say is keep it simple, keep it consistent. And, I think we all are kind of at this point where so much negativity about being in the middle of a pandemic, and everybody is so kind of in this mental state that it's hard to find the positive sometimes. And that's why I love listening to Hannah, because she's so positive and she gives us so many things to think about, and just energizes me. But I think she used the word byproduct at one point when she was talking today. And I think there have been a couple of really great byproducts of the situation that we're in now. And one of those is that teachers are really developing skills with technology and using things that they never would have done if we had not been in this situation. And they're really building that confidence and that ability and that willingness to step out of their comfort zone and try new things. And then they're discovering how well they can do them, and they're building that confidence, and they're going to keep using those tools even when we're 100% back in person. And then the other is, like Hannah mentioned, she's going to keep using these resources that she's spent all this time building for years to come, even when we are back in the classroom 100%. And I think a lot of teachers are that way. They are changing their mindset. They are changing the way that they plan and organize and deliver instruction. And those things are going to continue even when we are not in the situation that we're in now. And so I think we have to look for that silver lining and look at the good that is coming out of this as we are continuing. So I just appreciate you guys letting us hang out today and kind of share, and it's been great. Thank you.
Yeah, that was an amazing show. So thank you everybody for tuning in on the chat. Thank you to our amazing panelists, and Hannah and Michelle, thank you so much for being here. There's so much useful information and tools and just how to use different things in different ways. Like, it's crazy. I could see Elaine has her camera on, and when you mentioned novel effect, you could like see her mind blown right there. It was awesome. So thank you so much for being here. Dana, do you want to tell everybody how they can continue to stay connected with Kentucky Go Digital?
Yeah, so you can receive on-demand video support by subscribing to our Kentucky Go Digital live channel on YouTube. All you have to do is click subscribe on the channel. You can also find us on Facebook, and don't forget that as you create, connect your good ideas on our hashtag so others can share them around the state.
All right, well, again, thank you to our panelists. Thank you for being in the chat. Thank you to Hannah and Michelle again. Our next show is going to be December 8th, so not next week, but the week after. That will be with Sade Grace, who's a library media specialist at the Grace James Academy of Excellence here in JCPS. And with her will be Dr. Lynn Reynolds, who's the Director of Library Media Services here for JCPS. And they're going to be sharing how to lead from the library virtually. So thank you for being here. We can't wait to see you then. Please have a happy and a safe Thanksgiving. And I hope you enjoy your holiday and your long weekend. Thank you, everyone.